Hello! So today we are going to go through how to analyze an unseen poem. Now, I say unseen poem, this and all of the skills I'm going to run through now are, very briefly, are also, you can apply them to any unseen text whatsoever. It doesn't have to be a poem, okay? So, in a classic sort of bigger if I had more time, I would actually go through everything and we go through the poem all together. But today, I'm just going to condense it and kind of give you like quick bullet point little, what I was told when I was in school, these are little golden dust tips, yeah? So they're super important and they're really easy to just kind of have in the back of your brain. So the first thing is structure, tone, and technique. So anybody would like to tell me when we say tone, what are we really thinking of in a poem? If anybody wants to participate, raise your hand. If not, I'll come in. Tone is the general character or attitude of a text, right? So it's that tone. Is it serious? Is it morbid? Is it happy? Is it joyous? It's kind of the emotion that you feel as you're reading through it. So the poem that I've chosen today isn't actually a poem. It is a song. It's a rap, to be specific. It's by Cash. Don't know if you've heard of him. He's just come out with a new album. It's a great album, very poignant. It's actually called Life of an Immigrant. So this is actually the eponymous song in it. Eponymous, anybody know what that means? Is when something is named after itself. So Hamlet, for example, the main character it's the eponymous title. So in this case, the song, and also himself, because he views himself as an immigrant. So what I would usually say is, most people will say, right, you read it once, you read through the poem really quick, and that doesn't matter, that's just you familiarizing yourself with the poem. I don't actually quite agree with that. I think, and I don't know if you will resonate with this, but I think that first read is super important, because when you're fresh and you're just looking at it and you're thinking, what's going on here? It's in that moment that you're making maybe some of your best points, because they're raw in the sense that this is something that you felt right at the beginning, right? So classically I'd say, let's read through it and then you tell me what you can spot. But today I'm just gonna go ahead and jump in and do that, okay? So as I said, STT, right? Structure, tone, technique. So by technique, what I mean is technique can then break down into multiple different points. And by that, I mean literary techniques that the author, poet might use. So hyperbole, which is gross exaggeration. Oxymorons, so like strong contrasts, so the classic example of like a cold fire. These usually don't make sense in literally, but figuratively they can be very meaningful and descriptive, and kind of they're creative techniques, right, to kind of make a point. And then there's alliteration, for example. That's another one. When words start with the same letter successively. So bold banana would be one. Anybody else want to give me an example of good alliteration? It's always quite fun to do. Quite fun. But then there's also, of course, well, there are many more, but we'll go back to the poem and let's figure out where they are used. So for structure, it's a rap. Quite classically, of any rap, it's in rhyming couplets. Rhyming couplets, what are they? Well, I've put some examples on the screen here. They're highlighted in pink. Why rhyming couplets? Well, because it makes it catchy. That's the whole point of a song, right? You want people to be listening to it. You want people to be kind of following it and putting it on repeat. If something's catchy and you like it, you're going to be putting it on repeat. You're going to be playing it again and again. So that's why that's important in rap. And it gives it, right, the great word flow. Now, flow isn't maybe something I would write in an actual essay, but because we're talking about rap, we can do in this context, yeah. So it gives it a nice flow. It gives it a good, or maybe we could replace the word flow with structure or fluidity, you know. So the poem is fluid, it runs through coherently, you can follow it, it's nice. You don't see something that makes you think, oh, that's a bit jarring, I don't like how that's on that page. And then the tone is, as I was saying earlier, is the emotion. Is it anger? Is there resentment in this? Well, yeah, you know, there is. Cash was actually deported 5 years ago, and well, 6 years ago now, and only came back last year, which is this album I think was created throughout those 5 years that he was deported to Jamaica, and also on his arrival back in the UK. So it's a very poignant, very, very poignant piece. I would highly recommend you listen to it. It's honestly, it's a very, very good song. It's a great rap, and it's meaningful as well, which I think is very important in rap. Is when you actually listen to the lyrics, I think it's very telling. It's poetry. That's why I've picked it. So yeah, so those are 3 examples of structure, tone, and technique. Then I'm going to quickly, just ever so briefly, run through how you would then put that pen to paper. So you've read your poem, you've gone and you've highlighted all these little key parts. If you can highlight in an exam, you could in mine, which I found was really helpful. So you can have, if you like colour, you can have 3 different colours. 1 for structure, 1 for tone, and 1 for technique, and then you can go in and highlight it so it's very visual for then. So when you're sat down and you're going to go on and write your essay, you follow the PEE: point, evidence, expansion, or point, evidence, argument, other people call it, point, quote, expansion, whatever. And it's very straightforward, the point that you're making, right? Like with any paragraph, you have to have an introduction. So you say, I believe that Cash's use of the word, let's go back to the poem. Cash's repetition, use of the word, use of the words just life is poignant because it holds a mirror up to the reader of the poem. Right, and just life, I've air quoted it because that's literally what you would do when you were writing it down. You would put that in quotes because that's your evidence. You've based it on evidence and you found that in the poem. And you can say in the first stanza, in the second, third, fourth stanza, the word life recurs again and again. And this repetition, I believe, and that's when you go in and say what that repetition means to you. Well, how is it making you feel? First of all, it's obviously drawing your attention to it, but why? Well, look at the title of the song. It's in the title as well. Life of our immigrant. This is a life of a perceived life experience that maybe you don't know about, or maybe you do, and you can relate to it. And that's why maybe that mirror, you see yourself in the poem. So these are things that you could then write in your essay, and that would be like quite a high boundary that you'd be getting into if you were bringing in these sort of points, because they're quite, deep, and that's kind of what you want to be doing. You want to really engage with the poem. And then he talked about sort of, detention centers and comparing that to prison. We see that here. It's really deep stuff, because this is incarceration. You're being robbed of your freedom. And I think emphasis on bringing it back maybe to that original point about life as well could be interesting. Because what is life if you're locked up? Is that still life? It's a different type of life. Do you know of that experience, or know of someone that's going through that? Very powerful stuff. So yeah, that would kind of be how point, evidence, expansion, and you would want to be doing that in every paragraph of your essay. And then just by following that structure, actually, you're already in a high grade boundary. So yes, that's where I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed that, and see you soon.